I just scored another epic, slightly used cowboy boot find from shopgoodwill.com. This time, it's a Dan Post lizard boot with a J-toe, and I won them with a bid of $13. Let's go through the details of this and how you can search for your own slightly used cowboy boots on shopgoodwill.com. Let's get into it.
I'm just here to connect ya, and then I'll be on my way.
Hey everybody, my name is Jeremiah Craig. Welcome back to the channel. A regular feature here on the channel is finding slightly used cowboy boots for cheap. And I've been pretty lucky over the years. I've found some really good deals, usually under $20. I have gone out and bought some like for $70, maybe over $400 sometimes, but for the most part, I end up getting slightly used cowboy boots for under $30, and they are just amazing deals, including these Dan Post lizard boots. You know, shout out to Claudio, who sent me a Dan Post 12B on Shop Goodwill. I didn't end up bidding on those because I wanted a black pair. Turns out there was a lot of 12B lizard boots that must have been recently donated Shop Goodwill, because I was able to have my pick, and I liked the look of these black ones because right now I don't have any black exotic boots in my collection up here, and this is a great addition. They are a little bit dusty, so let's go through and condition and clean them up a little bit, and then we'll get into the rundown. I used an Angelus reptile cleaner and conditioner and edge dressing. Be sure to check out my entire video on this for more. Huge difference. So when you see pictures of boots on Shop Goodwill, imagine what they could look like after you bring them back, not what they look like at the moment. It might help you get a good price on them, but at the end of the day, remember that you can bring a pair of boots back really easy. That is one of the great qualities of leather. Now, let's get into the details of this boot with the rundown. All right, this is a lizard boot from Dan Post, and you can see the beautiful lizard leather in a few pieces. So this is a 3-piece foot and a 3-piece counter, all lizard skin on the foot and the counter. It's a beautiful leather. It's very symmetrical and very pleasing to look at, and it features a classic pointed round toe, also known as a J-toe. I absolutely love this toe shape. It's not super popular right now in the year 2025, but man, it is classic and it always looks good. It comes in at 12 inches tall with a black cowhide top. Down here for a heel, we have a 1.5-inch stacked leather heel. Gotta love it. For an outsole, it's a leather outsole with a full welt, so there aren't any lemonwood pegs or brass nails alongside the shank. And it also has its original heel cap on here, which is one of the main reasons why I got it. On the inside, it's leather lined all the way through, even around the foot, and it appears to be pigskin leather. And for an insole, we got a non-removable cloth and foam insole, and the cloth top of that insole is all wrinkly. It's kind of coming up in spaces, so I might have to take that out and put in a thin leather piece, but this is exactly why I don't really like cloth insoles. It just comes up and ends up being kind of uncomfortable. But the fact that I won this with a bid of $13 makes it not that big of a deal to me. And it's not notated on these boots where they were made. I kind of have a feeling that they were made in Mexico just because of this stitch pattern right here. These little arrows, they're done by machine, and you see that on a lot of Mexican-made boots. It's not to say that those machines aren't used in the US, but Dan Post boots, you know, when they were doing this, I kind of have a feeling that they're made in Mexico, although it does say El Paso on the heel cap, but you know how things are. Boot companies say they're from Texas, but ultimately have their boots made in Mexico. So I'm not sure exactly where these are made. If you have an idea, let me know in the comments. All in all, I paid $32.29 for this boot. Shipping and handling actually ended up being more expensive than what I paid for the boot itself. Now let's try it on to see how it looks and feels. All right, I got on those Dan Post Lizard boots right now. They fit and feel great. It is a 12B, so it's my true size, and it's a little bit more snug than what a 12B Dan Post Milwaukee is nowadays. So if you're trying to get something in line with your current, more modern Dan Posts, just take that with a grain of salt, and you might want to size up a half size on some of these older models. I think it looks great. I really like it, especially with these black jeans. These are the Hammer jeans from Hiroshi Kato. Really liking these jeans right now, and the black boots, the black jeans, just looks great, especially with these all cleaned up and shined up nice. Loving that J-toe as well. Let me pull over those jeans so you can see what they would look like just wearing normal. And that's a good look, real classy. Just check out that J-toe. Doesn't that look sweet? I absolutely love that classic, more pointed round toe. And you know, standing in them now with that cloth insole that's kind of wrinkly. They are a little bit wrinkly in both boots, so they kind of pulled up and moved around a little bit. I don't really feel it as much in my right boot. You can feel it a little bit in the left boot, but it's barely noticeable just standing here. I'm sure if I was walking around all day in these, I'd be able to notice it more, but not really that much. I'm only just noticing it because I was looking out for it. So we'll have to see how that goes when I'm wearing them all day long. I might try to pull it out, just tear it out. Maybe not. We'll see what happens, but generally I'm not a huge fan of any insoles that are cloth, whether non-removable or removable, because that cloth ends up tearing up. It ends up, you know, getting removed from the insole, and then you have to get new ones, and that's just sort of a waste. You know, you're breaking in a boot. Why would you want to remove something from the boot to then break it in again? And then even then, it's not going to feel the same. So that's why I think full traditional with the hard leather insole is the best way to go. I didn't know what this was going to be just because they didn't have pictures of the inside. Again, it's not that big of a deal because I won them with a bid of $13, but still, it's just something to keep in mind if you're out there looking for slightly used boots on secondhand marketplaces. Here's the POV. Just look at that shine, that classic J-toe. Jeez, that's a toe shape you don't see enough nowadays, and I hope it makes a comeback soon. Looks awesome. What a score. All right, guys, I love the fact that I found my true size of a 12B for this Dan Post. I love the toe shape. I love the look of it. I've been kind of keeping my eye out for a black exotic that was a nice price, and this one definitely worked out to my advantage. Huge shout out to Claudio, who sent me a link to a different Dan Post Lizard boot, which ultimately led me to find these black ones. And I am a huge fan of it. I'm so glad that I have it in my collection now. The one thing that I'm not a huge fan of is the fact that it is a cloth insole, and that cloth is kind of coming up. But like I said, for $32, all in all, you know, it's not that big of a deal. I didn't really feel it. I'm sure I would feel it walking around a little bit more, but you know, just trying them on here in this quick impression, didn't really feel it all that much. So we'll have to see how that goes. I might just rip it up and put in a thin piece of leather down there or something else. But in the meantime, I'm gonna really enjoy wearing this boot around for only $32. If you guys are interested in looking on shopgoodwill.com or Facebook Marketplace or any other places where you could find slightly used cowboy boots, the things that I look out for the most are the outsoles and the heel caps. If you can find a branded cowboy boot that has its brand in the heel cap still, that's usually a good indicator that it is slightly used. Because if a boot is resoled, then that usually means they have to take the heel cap off in order for their machines to get at it. And then they don't have like branded heel caps just laying around. They usually just use one brand that's like Goodyear or something like that, right? And then they put on new heel caps. So if it has a heel cap that isn't branded and you see like a little slit in the middle of the sole, then that means it's had a half sole on there. And once you see that it's been resoled, at least with a half sole, you have no idea how many times it's been resoled. It could have been once, or it could have been 5, 6, 7 times. And you don't want a boot that's been resoled 7 times. You want as slightly used of a boot as possible. And the story told in how slightly used a boot is in the heel cap and the outsole. Another thing that I like to look for is cracks in the leather. If there's any good pictures that will show you that, a lot of times there's not. So you kind of just have to base everything off of the outsole and the heel cap. Because usually if it has its original heel cap and the outsole is looking okay, then the leather wasn't used enough to get cracked anyways. But Lizard is a little bit different of a story because it is so fragile. What else do you guys use, you bargain hunters on Shop, Goodwill, and elsewhere for slightly used cowboy boots? Let me know if I missed anything in the comments below. I also have other videos about how you can shop for slightly used cowboy boots on these secondhand marketplaces, and I'll link them up on the end screen. Love you guys so much. Let me know what you think of this find in the comments, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.
Breaking news, you can get boots used for such a deal. It's basically a steal. Thanks so much for watching today. Why don't you check out the whole used boots playlist up here? Or I got a music video down here I think you might enjoy. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time. Peace. Have a good one.